Thank you for listening to the BJJ Brick Podcast. We'll be bringing you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and good times. We hope to flatten your Jiu-Jitsu learning curve, help you get the most out of your grappling ability, and meet your goals both on and off the mat.
Welcome back, my friends, to episode 144 of the BJJ Brick Podcast. My name is Byron. I'm here with my good buddy Gary. Gary, how you doing today?
I am doing great, and I'm still reeling over all the fame that you've brought to the BJJ Brick Podcast with your appearance on the Shark Tank. So thank you, Byron, and it's a pleasure being your friend.
Yeah, but to be on a fake show that I crafted in the audio program is just a phenomenal experience. I never thought I would get to experience that, Gary. But this week we've got a great show. Shannon Kitchen is going to be joining us for the interview portion of the show. If you don't know who Shannon is, he has a spinal cord injury. He's basically paralyzed from the belly button down, and he's also legally blind. And the man loves Jujitsu and what it's doing for him. He's also a good friend of Brian Freeman. That's how we got to know him. And just a great story to share. Sometimes we forget that Jiu-Jitsu is not just get on the mat and roll around with sweaty people. Sometimes there's a lot more to it going on, and this is a good reminder of that. So really excited to bring this interview to you guys.
Yep, definitely stay tuned. Listen to the interview because you'll come away motivated to keep training and enjoying your training. So stay tuned to listen to Shannon Kitchen. We
definitely don't want you missing any of our future episodes. And one good way that we could keep that from happening is if you want to get on our email list, go to a Facebook page or go to our website, bjjbrick.com, and there's a little area to type in your name and your email address. Type them in, and every week, once a week, we'll send you out an email. It'll have all the links to the show notes, and it's going to have Shannon's Facebook page link and any videos we might put on there. So everything will be contained in your email box, nice and safe for you to look at your leisure, my friend.
At your leisure is the key point. Hey, Byron, what does everybody who trained Jiu-Jitsu have in common? That's trained more than 1 year.
We've all had a first year of Jiu-Jitsu, if that's
what I was going for.
Nice.
Definitely check out Byron's audiobook, Your First Year in BJJ. And as we all know, the hardest part is starting. That first year is tough. That first class is tough. That first tournament's tough. Trying to figure out what school you want to go to is tough, unless you just live in a town where there's only one school. But the way Jiu-Jitsu's evolving and getting bigger and bigger in the United States or worldwide, there's more than one school in most cities of any size. So your first year in BJJ, it's 2.5 hours of content. It's Byron. You're walking through all the roadblocks, pitfalls, and trying to make your first year that much more enjoyable and the learning process, a better learning curve is what we're trying to make for you. And it's only $11.99. And like I said, 2.5 hours of content. Check out the link on the show notes. Getting great reviews, and we appreciate everybody who's bought it. Anybody who does buy it, the money just goes to put this show on. The show's not free, so it's a way to support the show, my friends.
The show is free for the listeners, but it does cost us to maintain and to run a little bit of money, so that definitely helps out that. And also helping out that, we have our Patreon supporters. I'd like to mention Rob, Sean, Craig, and Alexander. Those are our current supporters on Patreon. Thank you guys so much for helping keep this show going, and we look forward to adding a few names to that list very soon. Gary, I've got an interesting quote for us this week. It kind of deals with the mental side of competing. It's from a gentleman named Dan Gable, amazing wrestler to say the least. He says, "A lot of my intensity in wrestling was due to my mental preparation before the matches. I got myself into a different world." This obviously is a elite wrestler, and sitting on the sidelines, before the match, he's not thinking about this or that. He's focusing himself, and he's getting himself ready for the match. And I don't know for sure what he was doing, but we've talked a lot about, preparing yourself mentally in a lot of our interviews and a lot of our discussion. And just that is not an area that if you want to perform at your best, you should neglect. You should at least be experimenting with yourself about some different ways to prepare yourself mentally and seeing what works best for you. Some people, they need to try to relax themselves because they're going to come in too amped up. Some people need to get themselves a little bit more motivated and excited. Some people need to build themselves a little bit of confidence in running through maybe some techniques in their head, or I don't know. But there's a lot of things that someone can do. But it's important that you're doing something with your mind that's productive. Otherwise, a lot of times you end up in some sort of a negative thought process right before you're going to go compete, and that can really mess you up.
Yep, Dan Gable, one of the most intense wrestlers and one of the most intense coaches. So, that Iowa style is right in your face, club you, get right on you, very aggressive. And that's what his mental preparation made him. He mentally was ready to get out there and get in your face and take care of business and walk off the mat. So definitely get your head right before you step out on the mat.
Yeah. Oh, well, Gary, that music is telling us that we have to move on to the article of the week. Who do we have this week?
This week we have one of our previous guests on the show. One of his articles, Nick Albin from JiuJitsu. And I know we've actually used article before from JiuJitsu, maybe 2.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not exactly sure of the amount, but so definitely we got a great one this week. It's from July 7th, 2016, so a very new article, but it's titled Roll Longer as a BJJ white belt. And I think back to the day I first started, the first months I did jiu-jitsu, and I guarantee you probably think the same thing, and most of you listening are thinking the same thing. And I thought I was in great shape. I'd go to the gym, I could run forever, I could lift a lot of weight, and I thought I was pretty impressive. I got out there on the mat, and about 20 seconds in, I thought I was going to throw up. I have never been so exhausted. You almost felt like you're out in the middle of the ocean. You tried to swim, and you have no energy. You're breathing so hard, you're scared, you can't catch your breath, and you're drowning is basically what I felt like. And I just remember I was like, man, and how am I ever going to get over this? I need to get in better shape. So then I would go run more and more, and I would work out more and more, and then I'd come to practice, and the same thing would happen over and over again. And whatever I did, the more I trained outside of jiu-jitsu, and the more nothing happened. I didn't get any more comfortable and better shape on the mat. But so that's basically what this article is going to try to help you do is be able to roll longer. I couldn't make it. I couldn't go a minute, 20 seconds into it. I was dead. But, and then Nick says he remembers this being an issue for him when he was rolling. He was he struggled to be able to roll for a long time, and he was just getting frustrated. But one of the things that his coach would always tell him to do when he saw that he was having trouble was breathe. And I think that's what a lot of us do. We don't breathe. We don't take the time to, breathe in, breathe out, get that air into our bodies. And, it just makes us get tired quicker. And, he talks about seeing white belts and just getting really tense. You may not be doing anything, but you're using every muscle in your body. You're just holding on, and that was me. I would just grab and use everything I had, and I would never, relax. My technique was terrible. I was just, holding on like for my dear life. And he basically says you got to find out when, how to conserve energy. When do you need to expand it is one of the cornerstones to becoming more efficient. And basically you just got to relax to some degree. So, just a great article and ways to roll longer.
Yeah. One thing that I think that people get maybe their first dozen, maybe half dozen times on the mat is they are breathing super hard, even when they're doing okay. So if I'm rolling with somebody the second time on the mat and they have mount, they're still huffing and puffing. And a lot of times I'll say, okay, take a deep breath, try to relax a little bit. I know it's going to be hard, but you're winning. You're in an okay spot. If I have your back and I'm on top of you, crushing you into the floor, yes, you're going to breathe hard. Yes, you're going to work hard. If we're in a scramble that lasts more than a couple of seconds, yes, you should be working hard. You're winning. You're in a good spot. Try to be able to take that deep breath. Try to be able to calm yourself down and kind of just reset yourself mentally. You're doing okay. And that could be something that people learn at any level. That I know a lot of people that struggle with being able to calm themselves down even when they're in a good spot. But that you can learn that your second week in, you'd be way better off for it. And then also on the article, well, obviously there's a link to it in the show notes. JiuJitsu.net is the website. But I do believe we see a picture of white belt Chewy getting ready to compete, and it's kind of funny because it looks like Chewy a lot, many years ago, and he's getting ready to blast this kid in front of him. It looks like, but he's standing on his gi. It's a little bit too long for him. It looks like it's underneath his heels, but that's cool. He's got a picture of himself as a white belt in the article. So gotta love that.
Yep, and the other thing is when you were just talking there, I was still looking at the article, and I clicked on another other posts from Jujitsu, and I started thinking about the article we're talking about, how the second part, he was not the breathing part, but holding on with dear life, and just getting so static because we really don't know where to go. We just try to use muscle for everything, and normally what happens if you get really static, you can end up with some injuries. Your back might be tight. And I just saw, other posts from Jiu-Jitsu, fix tight back muscles after BJJ training. So, there's another good one to check out too. So I know we'll be hitting some other Jiu-Jitsu articles, but I know I'm going to actually check that out of myself because my back does take a beating and any little help I can get. So definitely a great website, great articles to help you with Jiu-Jitsu. So check it out.
Yeah, it's a fairly consistent blog. Every time I look at it, there's lots of new stuff on there. So definitely worth following with good information. So gotta love Chewy. If you didn't hear Chewy's interview, go back and check that out. It was a little while ago. Just type in the word Chewy in our search engine, and I'm sure it'll pop up. He's a fun guy to talk to.
Byron, I think it's about time for the meat and potatoes of our article.
Sounds great, Gary.
Yep, let's get on with our interview with Shannon Kitchen.
He is the most interesting grappler in the world.
He hit 88 miles per hour on his bicycle, and his flux capacitor took him to watch the first wrestling in the Olympics. His tornado guard once left the referee homeless. He holds an impressive record in death matches, 58-7. He uses the Heimlich maneuver to prevent from tapping to a choke.
I don't always listen to podcasts, but when I do, I prefer the BJJ Brick podcast. Go for the submission, my friends.
All right, my friends, I'm happy to bring Shannon Kitchen to the BJJ Brick podcast. Shannon, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
I'm excited to have you. You have a inspirational story, and we have a mutual friend in Brian Friedman, and happy to have you on the show and share your story and learn from you and learn who you are and what you're doing. I guess with that being said, could you tell me a little bit about yourself and get us started with who is Shannon Kitchen?
Yeah, I'm Shannon Kitchen. I'm from Kentucky, and I train under Relson Gracie. I'm a blue belt. I'm also got a spinal cord injury at the belly button, paralyzed belly button down. I'm legally blind, and I'm just training jiu-jitsu, having fun, competing, enjoying the lifestyle, man.
Wow. How long have you been training?
5 years now.
We talked a little bit before we started this. It's called a T10 spinal cord injury? Is that right?
Yeah, I had a T10. I had a bruised spinal cord. It was a side effect of life-saving surgery, and my spinal cord got bruised in the process. So I still have feeling all the way down. I still have good hip movement, but, I don't have no use of my legs, that kind of thing.
If you don't mind asking, what's the story behind all this?
I was in a car wreck when I was 13. It was T-boned. I got T-boned, passenger side, and I had a torn aorta. Your main heart valve.
Wow.
And I died 3 times basically, and I got life flight to the hospital. And they told my family that I had a 5% chance of surviving the open heart surgery to repair the, the valve. But, I woke up about 13 days later, totally blind, couldn't see, couldn't hardly move. And spent a total of 43 days in the hospital. It was including hospital plus rehab. Went through some hard times in rehab.
A torn aorta, that sounds like very as serious as you can get injury. I don't know how else to say that.
Yeah.
It's not something that people survive. So
yeah, most people don't survive that injury. It's very catastrophic. But I'm here. I'm here,
and I'm glad you're here. And you mentioned a little bit about rehab. How that had to have been really hard. How long were you in a rehab program?
22 days straight through. It was like a move-in kind of thing. Oh, it was crazy, man. It was the most intense rehab training I've ever experienced in my life, and I'm grateful for it because it's it's credit to where I am today. They got me from being a goofy 13-year-old kid with not a care in the world to growing up instantly to living the wheelchair life, learning how to operate and function in a chair, and how to go upstairs without your chair and transfer to cars, and simple things like that. Taking a bath, it's a whole new world. Learning all that. It's basically like starting all over again. But I was just happy to be alive.
Well, and like you said, you were 13 at the time.
Yeah, I was 13. It was the day before Thanksgiving in 2003, and that's when it happened. Had it happened at night, and I was in life-flighted to St. Mary's Hospital. I was in ICU for 13 days. They said the first time I woke up, I was yanking tubes out. I had chest tubes and feeding tubes and vents, just yanking everything out. I don't technically remember that. I remember the second time I woke up because I had my arms restrained, so I couldn't do that again, but I don't remember the first. But yeah, man, I was in the rehab too. It was pretty crazy. I had to stay there all through December and right into the very beginning of January. I actually had to spend Christmas there. Wasn't allowed to go home. That was a hard pill to swallow, me and there, and my whole family was there, so we made it special. We had Christmas there.
Well, that's good. You've got such a great support group around you that they all come to where you are. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Could you tell me a little bit about yourself before Jiu-Jitsu and after the accident? Kind of just what were you like and what was going on?
Okay, well, before Jiu-Jitsu, man, I was doing training at home, boxing, that kind of thing, just playing around with it, a lot of working out. I was big into working out and lifting heavy, and I was in physical therapy, for about 5 years, I think, just constant, any kind of therapy you could think of, aqua therapy in the pool, standing, just to stay in shape, because they say that's the one killer of somebody in a wheelchair is if you get lazy, you get fat, you slow down, and you die. That's basically what they say. And so I was very motivated to stay in shape, and then, one day in therapy, this was 5 years down the road, I got discharged for being too healthy. No kidding. Too healthy. So then, that's how it all started with Jiu-Jitsu is, I knew about the UFC, and I'd watched it. I was a fan. I always knew about Jiu-Jitsu. Didn't really know if it was an option for me. And then, I thought to myself one day, man, what happened to this? I'm in an altercation or something, and I get knocked out of my chair. What am I going to do? So I, found my school now and started private lessons, and Phil, he took me in. He didn't care. He didn't go easy on me. We started with self-defense from the chair, and the first thing he showed me was 3 arm locks from top side mount, Americana, Kimura, straight on bar. And we did that for forever, seemed like. I think about 8 months of just solid drilling technique, no rolling. I didn't even know what rolling grappling was. I didn't even think about it. And, you know, we just did that over and over and over, thousands of reps, you know, and then once the grappling started, I was like, whoa, you know, this can work for me, you know. It's a very adaptive, you know, I don't call it adaptive jiu-jitsu, you know, because jiu-jitsu adapts to your body, you know, it adapts to everybody. So I kind of just went with it and, you know, started playing the bottom game for the longest time, and then got really into sweeps and, you know, getting on the top. That really got me excited. So now I'm really obsessed with playing the top game now, trying to stay on top with, you know, just half my body and that kind of thing. So then I started competing. Still do that. Been doing that a lot. Went to New York City last year, competed, you know, in Brooklyn, I believe. And then been to California this year, competed. It's crazy. Been in North Carolina. Been all over, man. West Coast, East Coast. It's nuts.
Wow, that's you got a lot going on there. You mentioned a little bit ago that you started with private lessons.
Yeah. I started private lessons very first. Yeah.
I think that's a good move. I think Brian did the same thing. Do you think it would have been a lot different for you if you just started trying to regular class, or was the private lessons definitely the right move for you?
Yeah, I mean, I would, you know, anybody that's in that similar situation looking to start out jiu-jitsu, you know, with just half a body, or, you know, no matter what your platform is, I'd always encourage everybody to try jiu-jitsu. It's, you know, you can find a way to make it work for you. But, yeah, it was private lessons. I could see the other side of somebody starting, you know, and just in class trying to do, you know, a regular armbar. I can't physically do a regular armbar. I always call them regular person armbars, but I still can't do those. You know, my legs don't work like that. But, yeah, I would strongly recommend private lessons because I feel like you take more from it that way, you know.
And you said another thing that everybody's adapting jiu-jitsu to their body, and I do this as well. I'm not as flexible as I once was, and different things like that. So I don't do certain things, and you're doing that at a more advanced level. It sounds like, and you're able to just find things that work well for you, and really work on those techniques in particular.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Do you have a favorite? You mentioned that you like top. Do you have a favorite position?
Yeah, I mean, I say I like top a lot, but honestly, I really love bottom side mount. I really like to be on bottom side mount. I have a lot more mobility and weird things that I can do from there, you know, attacks, sweeps, all kinds of stuff from there. I really like that position.
It's unconventional, so you're putting people who aren't used to being attacked from there in a spot where it's like, okay, what's he doing now? I don't understand. And I imagine it's very good place to be for somebody who's used to training there, and you actually like it there. So they have somebody who doesn't know you, that has no idea that you're quite happy where you are, and you're going to go to work from that position. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, and I really love that. I can't remember the name of that specific position, the catch wrestling style top side mount.
Yeah,
where they wrap the head and they're kind of on the one hip, kind of setting up, kind of sort. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, with just the head and the arm.
And yeah, with just a heavy arm, I really love that position because I can trap that arm and then throw my closest one over their head, and it's a real weird, funky thing. I mean, I love that position because I can go there and you know, all day long. It's just cool to see the look in their eye when that leg gets thrown over their head, and they're like, uh-oh, what's this?
And this might be a weird question. How are you getting that leg over their head?
Usually I'll shoot my opposite arm down and grab my leg. I have a little bit of hip, you know, mobility. My knees are, you know, obviously tight from the chair. I like to keep them really tight because it helps me be more mobile in jiu-jitsu, you know, rolling-wise. I can get more control of my legs. And I just reach for it with my free hand. You know, sometimes you got to take that risk of not protecting your neck, and, you know, that's my game, man.
Yeah.
Risk and reward.
Yeah. And I've seen you. I'll put links to a couple of videos of you grappling, and you actually, I saw you take the back of somebody, and you just reached down, put your leg, and then threw your hook in.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah. Yeah, it just depends really on my opponent. If my opponent's a little bit heavier than me, it's harder for me to take the back and get a hook in leg-wise. I have a weird kind of back game where I'm off to the side, but I really try to control the shoulders and the chest with my grips and the collar. But, can't really do that in Noogie, but I'm still learning. I'm kind of new to Noogie, too. I'm having a lot of fun there. So, I don't really train Noogie, but I compete in it.
Well, training in it would be good then. You've been on the mat for about 5 years or so. How long have you been looking at Noogie and trying to do that?
I've competed Noogie ever since I started.
Really?
Once I started, I had really only trained Noogie maybe a couple times. I remember a couple private lessons where we did all Noogie, but nothing like, it wasn't all the time. It was one a month maybe. And, Noogie for me, usually in a tournament, usually that's the first thing that goes, Noogie. So I always took that as a warm-up, get me warmed up real good, get the sweat going, get the blood flowing, That's all I always really enjoyed Noogie, because that warms me up for the gi. And I'm like, I get out there in the gi, I'm like, okay, I can get my grips now.
You mentioned that you've competed, it sounds like, all over the country. What's your most recent competition you went to?
Most recent would be at Naga in Charlotte, North Carolina.
And how did that go?
Oh man, that was fun. That was crazy. I competed with Brian. He was there. I went out to stay with him, and we competed. And I got third place in gi. But the really funny story is I got in no gi, and I'm really liking Naga now because the rules are getting a little bit more strict, seems like. And I had this opponent, I ain't going to mention no names or anything, but, Brian's over there on the sidelines coaching me, and I'm out there fighting, and, he's engaging, and then he won't engage to the point where the ref is, yelling at him, you got to engage or I'm going to take a point. Well, he's just running from me. He's running from me, and I'm on all fours crawling towards him, and he's just running from me. And, my legs don't work, so I can't crawl that fast. So I'm just crawling slow towards him, and he's running from me, and Brian's on the sidelines. He is barking like a chicken at this guy.
Brian.
Yeah, and everybody is yelling. There was a huge crowd over there. They were all yelling at this guy, and, it was, somebody come up to us and said, "You wheelchair guys are mean." And, they were just kidding. They were just kidding around. But
yeah,
it was fun. I was out there. It was fun because once the ref did take a point away, he did engage, and then I landed an ankle pick and took him down and got in his guard, and so it was fun. I think I lost 5 to 8 point wise. Which points is really not my game, but I was proud because, I didn't get submitted and, I didn't get dominated on points like I had been, last year. Last year I'd get dominated on points, and I'm really trying to work on that. But, I'm more of a submission-only person. That's my favorite. I've actually got one this weekend. I'm going to submission-only, so I'm looking forward to that one.
Well, that's cool. That's I could picture Brian kind of trying to get into the head of your opponent there and get him to engage.
Yeah, man, it was fun. I even did a front flip out there to try to pull guard to get him to come in, and he still wouldn't. So it was fun. We had a good time.
That's good. That's what it's all about. So Jiu-Jitsu, you're learning how to defend yourself in a bad situation. You're getting good exercise. What other benefits would you like to talk about maybe that Jiu-Jitsu has brought to you, or maybe your team that you're training with has brought to you?
Oh, man, it's always said, within 6 months into training that this was the best rehab that I could possibly have, because within a year of training jiu-jitsu, common thing with spinal cord injuries is your balance. Your core muscles, your trunk, you lose them. You're very off balance. I always tell everybody I feel top heavy all the time because I just don't have that balance that that you would have. And the core strength and the balance and just the confidence really that I've gotten from jiu-jitsu is crazy. I've got more in a year from just training than going to, an actual rehab, physical therapy, and training there and doing these exercises that are supposed to help you, get more balance. So I really haven't been back in physical therapy other than, injury, when I hurt my arm and popped my elbow a good time, but that was about it. So.
You mentioned that when you first, were 13 years old, you go into physical therapy and they're teaching you how to get in and out of the car and do all these things. It seems like there's an opportunity there to teach somebody, like, here's how you could maybe defend yourself if something happened. And maybe there's a place for quality instructors like Phil or jiu-jitsu people maybe to go in and help people out and maybe introduce them to something that might be very life-changing. At very, very minimum, they would have maybe a self-defense skill that they could kind of keep in the back of their mind, but it might expose them to something like jiu-jitsu.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That would be amazing, yeah.
So you mentioned that it helps you a lot with your balance.
Yes, balance.
I didn't realize that was an issue. That's really good. So you're always trying to in jiu-jitsu, you're always aware of your center of gravity and where your weight is on your opponent or where their weight is on you. And can you think of a time when you realized that you were getting this benefit from jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I realized it about a year. I started realizing it very quickly, but once I really understood how much it was helping me was when somebody was trying to take me down, and I start jiu-jitsu match, whatever, I always start setting, on my butt anyway, and they couldn't take me down. They couldn't break my posture down. I was sitting upright, and they were standing trying to come in, and my core was strong enough to hold me up, prevent them from taking me down, and that was just all my balance. So at that point, I realized, like, okay, this is crazy. He's putting all his body into me, and he still can't shove me back flat on the mat. So that's when I realized it, and that's when I started working all those muscles even more at home. Doing those exercises and trying to get as much as I possibly can out of that. Yeah,
that's awesome. It's we're fortunate that jiu-jitsu is not just fun, but it's also providing other great benefits to our bodies as well. It's it's a good workout. It helps your balance. Like I mentioned, it helps your core, and it's an enjoyable process. There are times where it's not all that enjoyable. You're getting choked, or whatever. But it's an exciting process. You're not bored doing your exercises. You're going to class, having a good time, and training hard. That's a great combination of things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's why I love it, man. Because lifting and then working out, lifting and doing the bench press and the curls and all that, man, that's just boring. It's not fun. I need something fun, something to push myself. I like to see how far I can take it, that kind of thing.
Yeah. You're a blue belt, is that correct, Shannon?
Yeah, 3-stripe blue belt under Relson Gracie.
What was that day like when you got your blue belt?
Oh man, that was crazy. It was very, very emotional. Just to be, in this. I wanted to earn that blue belt. But I knew it was going to be hard. Because I'm using, I'm taking half my body. That's what I always tell the guys at the gym. I'm taking like 40% of my body, and I'm putting it up against 100% of your body. So that 40% has got to be strong and has got to be technical to be able to survive against your own 100%. So, when I got that day, when they surprised me with my blue belt, my instructor, Phil, he actually promoted me himself. And then, you know, of course he got the approval from Relson and Holland and all of them. And, you know, that was great too. And it was just crazy just to be recognized, you know, to think that I'm on that level of a blue belt, you know. Not just I knew I had earned it. It wasn't just a pity thing. Say, here's your blue belt. You got all the classes in. You're a blue belt. No, I knew I earned it, and I knew I could hang with the guys in the gym, you know, that were colored belts and upper belts. And, you know, it was a very, very amazing day. I couldn't sleep that night. I think I stayed up all night. So excited.
Was it a surprise, or did you kind of have an idea it would be happening?
I mean, I was very surprised. I knew it was going to happen. At some point, I figured it was getting close because I had my classes in. I was still doing all private lessons at that time, and you know, and I had all of them in, and met my, you know, the quota that you had to meet to get that, and I knew it was coming, but I figured it would be, you know, at a Relson seminar when Relson was in. So, you know, I figured that'd be a couple months away. I wasn't expecting it that day. No, not at all.
I imagine everyone was very proud of you on that day.
Yeah. It's interesting because, you know, to Relson, you know, the most important aspect of jiu-jitsu is self-defense, you know, to all of us that way. Competing's fun, whatever, but, you know, you don't want to go out there in the street and play rubber guard, you know, in a self-defense situation. You don't want to play open guard and none of them weird guards. You want self-defense. So, you know, the aspect of self-defense and changing and seeing what I could do from the chair and the self-defense on the ground was very cool. And, you know, modifying all that and training that was a lot of fun. I've had a lot of help from Relson, a lot of help from Phil, all the guys back, you know, at home with the training and the modifying. They're always down to, you know, help me out there.
Yeah, Shannon, I've seen some videos of you grappling with Brian and some competition footage. What is your self-defense techniques? What do they look like?
I have one of my favorites is the punch block. Relson calls it the punch block series from you know, standing position where, you know, it'd be from my chair, obviously. But it's where, you know, you're in the street, somebody throws a haymaker, you know, at you, and you know, you block, defend, and I wrap up, and, you know, I can take it down from there, take it to the ground, or evade the situation, whatever I need to do. That's probably my favorite. You know, we got the ones on the ground too, but, you know, I love that one. That's my favorite from the chair. I train from the chair. I've trained any getting knocked out of my chair, and all those situations. I try to train them all. Yeah,
that's smart, and it sounds like from that you could maybe even drop down and get your ankle pick. If you're hitting ankle pick on blue belts, you're hitting it on anybody on the street.
Hey, man, I hit it on a brown belt at Naga, so I'm very proud of that.
Wow.
I bragged, but I hit it on a brown belt, and I was very proud of that. So I've actually had to perform, you know, in front of Relson at a seminar, you know, with all the teammates around, all the other people from the local schools around, you know, talking 20, 25, 30 people there. I don't know, half of them. And, you know, Phil was introducing me to Relson, you know, and he's like, hey, you know, this is what we've done with what he can do. And, you know, I had to get out there in the middle of them and you know, show him that I could do, you know, the punch block series with the slight modifications that I've made to it to work for me, and plus get the takedown. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, and when you're having to modify techniques, that's an advanced level of learning and teaching that's going on there, because you're not just learning the basic technique and how it works. You have to learn why certain things are important behind that. So when you change them, the ideas for that change are still there. You didn't change the reasons why why you're doing something. You're just changing how it's done a little bit, and you're still accomplishing that goal.
Mm-hmm. Right. And the way I like to look at it is, you know, where I'm legally blind, so I like to try to modify stuff with my eyes closed. I like to feel it. You know, I don't want to see it. I don't want to depend on my eyesight. You know, it's not that great. So I want to feel it. I want to know that it works. You know, that's the way I always try to modify stuff. I don't like trying to depend on my eyesight,
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it's that system of how you modifying things is working out great for you.
Yeah, man, it's working great.
If you can't go back in time and talk to yourself as a 13-year-old kid, but if you could talk to somebody who was in a similar situation as you back then, what advice would you give them, or what kind of maybe a shared experience that could you give them to help them get through their difficult days?
I would say it's not easy. It's the hardest path that I've ever been down in my life. It's a struggle. You got to grind. You got to work hard. You got to work, twice as hard to get to where where you want to be, just because of your situation. But just try to stay positive. Just try to stay positive, and you'll get there. It might take a little longer, but you'll get there. I always said I wish I would have found jiu-jitsu, earlier, so I would have been training, and learning. But it wasn't really an option. I couldn't have trained jiu-jitsu until 5 or 6 years later because of my spinal cord injury, where I had the swelling on my back, and that took years to get over for it to actually go down, and for me to not be so sensitive to just lay on my back, But I'd say just stay positive. It's going to get better. You're gonna go through it to get there, but it's going to get better.
Yeah, that's a great advice. If somebody is in a position where they're thinking, hey, maybe this jiu-jitsu is good for me. Maybe it will help me with my balance and my core strength and all these other, be a part of this great team and meet all these people in this community. What would you tell them if they're thinking about looking into jiu-jitsu?
I would say absolutely. I would say 100% go for it. I always tell anybody and everybody, that if I submit somebody at the gym and they're kind of bugged out about it or whatever, I always say, hey, don't be down. Just look at it like this. If I can submit you with half of my body, take that as motivation. You got a full body. Just think about what you're going to do when you learn the technique in a year, and you really get it down. Think about what you're going to be able to do. That's what I always said. Just use me as motivation.
Obviously, you found a great home there, a great school. But if somebody across the country is looking for a gym to train at, what would you recommend that they look for in this to find the right gym that could maybe help them get into jiu-jitsu?
I would say I always liked the very strong self-defense, academies. The Relsons, the Henzos, the Hoist. I always liked all those where they put self-defense over sport jiu-jitsu, There's a difference. There's a big difference there. I would recommend that, going for that. That's what I would say. Yeah. Self-defense first, then the fun stuff, the other stuff comes later. And
probably a good idea to start with some private lessons and see how it goes from there.
Yeah, definitely. Private lessons first, yeah, because you need to assess your body, see what you can do, what you can't do. It's going to be a learning experience for sure.
And for everybody, jiu-jitsu can be a very frustrating experience. You just mentioned that, when you tap somebody out and they're frustrated, and you just say, "Hey, look I tapped you out," and you're going to be able to do these techniques as well, and you're going to be able to learn jiu-jitsu. Hang in there. What advice do you have somebody who's maybe struggling to really pick up jiu-jitsu and to excel at it?
I would say just focus on the basics, man. The drilling. It seems like, in the culture nowadays, that's being forgotten, the drilling part. Everybody just wants to roll and grapple and think that's how they're going to get, really good and flow really well and move really well. I mean, yeah, you're going to get good from rolling, but, you need the technique. You need the drill. You need hundreds and thousands of repetitions of an arm bar or a triangle or a sweep, whatever. You need that, I would say just focus on the drilling and then the training, and the submission will come. It'll come one day, It'll be there. You just got to find it.
Yeah, there you go. That's good advice, and keeping the motivation high and just focusing on the basics, and it'll get there for you.
That's right. Yeah, it will, because that's basically all I do. I don't really do nothing fancy, man. I'm all about the basics.
Could you tell me about the time, or maybe the time frame that you went from going from private lessons to going to a class where you were rolling with other people?
I was probably a year in, I think it was. So, like, the thing to understand about me is, I'm legally blind, so I can't just go drive. I got to get a ride to class, So, for the longest time, that wasn't really an option because classes were later in the evening at like 8:30. I think it was 8:30 was classes when they started. So, I always did private lessons, earlier. And the first time I went to class was crazy. It was a very eye-opening experience. I had all these other people, and then the grappling. I remember my very first match that I rolled was with a blue belt, and I was still I think I was a 2-stripe white belt at the time. I hadn't been training very long, but maybe 8 months or so, my first roll, and I ended up in his guard, and I don't like guard because I'm not. The balance is not there. It's hard for me to stay upright in guard or posture up. It's nearly impossible, but I usually give my back to escape the guard, and I went for an Ezekiel choke from their guard, and I almost landed it. I was just an inch off, and that guy was like, "Hey, man, if he showed me what I needed to do to finish it," and I was like, "Man, this is awesome," and I've been hooked there since. And I still done private lessons up until a few months ago. I always went to class too. I mixed it up. I do 2 to 3 private lessons a week, and then I would, throw one class in there if I could get a ride, maybe one class a week or so. And, but that was pretty fun.
It sounds like when you got to the class, you started rolling with students, you realized maybe some areas of your game you didn't like being on top in the guard, and you had to turn to give them your back to where they could like lay next to you, and you could work from there. So it sounds like that was a pretty important part of your.
A big learning experience was everybody's jiu-jitsu is different, so just training with one person, that's not good enough. You need to train with as many different people as you can to really experience jiu-jitsu and how these people are doing this and that and this guard and that guard and all this. Yeah, it was a big learning experience.
That's cool. And then you also mentioned that you're trying to choke from somebody's guard, and you got close. And then I love the fact that the guy said, "Here's how you would have finished me." That's the great thing about jiu-jitsu is you try to choke somebody and you almost get it, but you don't quite get it. That person will tell you how to choke them next time, and I just love that story. How that's great.
That's the beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu. Yeah, man, that was 3 years ago. Still remember to this day, I had my pinky on his neck. I didn't have the hand all the way across to finish the Ezekiel. I just had my pinky. Just a simple little mistake, Still remember to this day.
That
was
cool.
Awesome.
Just remember how you could treat your teammates, and like you said, just 3 years ago, and he treated you well, and rolled hard with you, and told you a little bit of advice, and you remember that still. So treat your teammates well. It doesn't go unnoticed.
They definitely will treat you well too. And the one thing I loved about going to class was, I'd be out there on the mat, and they'd have all these people come to watch, and you have all these students out there, newer people. And, then there's this wheelchair sitting there beside the mat, and there's nobody in it. Everybody's looking around, and they're looking out on the mat, and they're like, "Well, whose wheelchair is this?" They don't know. They can't tell that because I'm out there and I'm grappling hard and I'm going hard and they're going hard on me and we're throwing each other and we're going hard, and they don't know. I love that part. That was cool. It was cool and it was funny to me at the same time, but it was fun.
Yeah, you get the shock look on their face when they see you come back to that chair.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
I think a lot of the people that are watching are just there to watch, maybe pick up somebody or whatever. But a lot of them secretly in their mind want to try it, but they don't think that they can. And so you blew their mind, like, I could maybe do this.
Yeah, exactly. That comes back to Brian, man. One thing he always told me was, I'm gonna try to quote him. I'm probably gonna butcher it, but one thing he always told me was, we're out there competing. Just think about all the normal people on the sidelines, the blue belts, the purple belts, that are just too afraid to, get out there and risk it. Get out on the mat and compete. Just think about it. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. We are out there competing, and there are other people that are just, for whatever reason, don't want to. Maybe they're afraid, maybe whatever. But it takes courage to get out there and compete. It can be scary at times. I remember my last Naga last year, man. I got choked out in my very first match. Went to sleep, and but that was my whole goal for the past one that I did. To not get tapped out, do better at Naga. So I reached my goal. So that was fun.
That's awesome. And how'd you meet Brian?
We met on, I think it was Instagram. We found each other a couple years ago, and started talking on Instagram, and then we started talking on the phone, and basically we just became best friends. We would talk every day. Like I said, I just got back from being out to his house for a week. So yeah, we're really close. We have a common bond, and wheelchair and my life, and we're always bouncing things off each other. Hey, try this, try that. I'm sending videos to each other. It's that kind of thing. That's
cool. And I saw a little exhibition match that you guys had. It was almost 10 minutes long. And I'll put a link to that on the show notes there. It's amazing to watch you guys roll and perform your techniques.
Yeah, man. I told him he cheated in that match. As soon as it started, he punched me right in the eye. I was like, daggone, Brian. If this is a street fight, you need to let me know. But I was... Yeah, it's funny.
Oh, that's a good one. I didn't realize that happened early on in that match. And that's... he's in it to win it, I guess.
Yeah.
Fighting dirty. Yeah. Some say if you're not fighting dirty, you're not fighting.
Yeah, that's what they say.
That's pretty good. But you have a lifelong friend that you've met through this sport, and a bond that really can't be compared with much else. That you guys go through so many similar hurdles and difficulties together, and you're able to share those experiences. I imagine that's a great bond.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's not the only one. I mean, the Jiu-Jitsu community with the disabled athletes, man, it's growing. It's getting big. There's lots of them out there now. The community's getting big. So that's a good thing to hear. See, talk to all of them too.
What are some of the organizations or things that are helping this community develop?
I would say the one that I know of would probably be the Grapplers Heart tournament, which is only for disabled grapplers, and they try to match us up by disability and closest, all that stuff. So it would have to be that. They just had their second one, and that was the one that was out in California. And the last year it was in New York. So, and we're just all over the place, man. We're just trying to grow that tournament, and so it brings a lot of people, in, a lot of attention to it. So it's a really good thing.
And that's an annual thing?
Yeah, it's once a year. Usually it's at the end of April every year, usually, yeah.
That's awesome. Grapplers Heart is what it's called? And
Grapplers Heart. It's on Facebook, and I believe their website is grapplersheart.com, so you can check that out. They usually have all the pictures and stuff on there, so it's really cool.
Any idea how many people competed?
Not really. I'm not really sure. But last year it was a lot bigger. There was a lot more people there at New York, but California, I don't know really. I don't know the exact number, but it was still a pretty good turnout. And then we had then they organized it so Kyle Maynard could come in and teach a seminar, right after the tournament, 2-hour seminar. And I got to grapple with him and train with him and learn from him. That was insane,
That's cool.
Do you know who Kyle Maynard is?
It's not. The names are in the bell, but I can't quite.
He's the one that he's the wrestler, collegiate wrestler that has no arms.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Talk about eye-opening. Having that guy on top of you, oh my gosh. Whew. That's some rough stuff, man.
That is cool. So, Grapplers Heart, is it Jujitsu? Is it Noogie? Is it wrestling, or is it...
It's both Jujitsu, in the gi, and Noogie.
Okay. Well, that's great.
4 divisions. Yeah. And they usually do the absolute, too, where they just throw everybody in together, you know. So that's pretty fun. It's you can't really train for it. It's weird because, you know, usually you're training with, you know, able bodies, and then you're going and competing against somebody with a disability, and, you know, you can't really mimic that training. So it's very fun and interesting to get out there and compete, you know, and learn and see how they're doing things and seeing what works for them.
Yeah, and I imagine that this process will help the competitors develop new techniques and learn from each other at a greatly accelerated rate, because just the putting stuff, you know, you go home and you work on things and you get better at it and you bring it to the competition, and the competition will see, okay, he's doing this and that worked really well, and then you could learn from the other guy as well, and then you go home and you work on that, you know. So tournaments like this, I think, would help a lot with developing the game plans and techniques that work well and things like that.
Absolutely, yeah. Always adding tools to the toolbox, man.
That is good, Shannon. Do you have any plans or future goals that you have coming up?
Not really. I'm just enjoying the training, man, learning. I'm competing. Like I said, I'm doing a submission-only tournament this Saturday, so that should be pretty fun. And I don't really have any after that coming up. There's not a whole lot of tournaments around me, you know, in Kentucky. They're kind of few and far between, but whenever they come up, you know, I like to compete and try it out, you know, have some fun out there on the mat. But I don't really have any plans coming up, you know.
Well, that's all right. We were talking before the show. I just enjoy just going to class, and it's just the years go by and you get better. I don't always have a goal, a jiu-jitsu style goal, you know, on my plate at the time. Right. But just enjoy the process and enjoy getting better at certain things, and time will tick by and you'll continue to get better. That's
right. Learning from everybody else. One question I did have for you, Byron, was: you had any significant injuries training jiu-jitsu?
No, I've been pretty fortunate. I think my most significant injury probably has been I have a rib injury, and it sticks out a little bit, and for about 5 or so years I couldn't sleep on that side. But it's
no joke.
You shouldn't sympathize with that at all. Like it was just a weird, you know. It's really not a big deal. I missed a little bit of training. I probably should have missed a little bit more. Haven't had much. Every now and then my lower back acts up on me, but I can't really talk to you about, you know. I can't complain, you know. Like I don't feel like I have the right to like I'm doing no injuries, you know. I've never had surgery from anything that jiu-jitsu has brought to me.
Yeah, I've only had one. I think when I was in that car wreck, and the window shattered, so all the glass was in my face, you know.
Yeah.
So I'd have plastic surgery getting all that out. Well, they missed 2 little pieces of glass that was in my face. And the funny thing was, when I first started training jiu-jitsu, I had one piece that was right over my right side of my eye on the temple, and then I had one right under my right eye, like right in the eye socket, the bone right there, it stuck down. And, you know, in training, you know, they'd get hit, and once they'd get hit, they would just start bleeding everywhere. So I actually had to have those cut out, you know. I actually planned it. The funny story is I planned the surgery whenever my instructor was going out of town on vacation, so I would really only miss 1 week of training. But that's really the only one. I tore my elbow, my UCL, I think, or UCI, the muscle in my elbow. I tore that one, and I was out for about a month, and that's really it.
Yeah, it's important to not get too beat up doing this, and I'd imagine if there's a piece of glass anywhere under your skin, on your face, Jiu-Jitsu's going to find that. Yeah,
that's so. Like my very first 2 views I think I had, blood stain everywhere. So, yeah.
It's not all. Some people call it the gentle art. It's not always a gentle art. You know, there's a lot of pressure and a lot of discomfort.
Yeah, especially if you got a piece of glass in your head and it gets bumped. You know, it's gonna bleed.
Man, I could not imagine that experience. Wow. But glad you got it out of there, and glad it's not bugging you anymore there.
Yeah, it was. I'm glad to have it out. So it's fun.
Shannon, do you have any sponsors or anybody supporting you that you would like to mention?
Yeah, I do. I'm sponsored by BJJ New Gear, and so a big thanks, shout out to them for all they do for me, gear-wise, helping me out, compete and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
And what do you like most about BJJ New Gear?
Brian actually introduced me to him, and you know, when I was looking for a sponsor, very beginning of last year, I was looking for a sponsor to help me, you know, get out to New York, because, you know, it's an expensive trip for, you know, a man on disability. So, and once we got contacted, and then, you know, Doug, he jumped on board and said, you know, he'd love to be a part of my journey and help me do what I want to do, compete, and, you know, just train jiu-jitsu and have fun, you know, enjoy the life. So it's pretty cool. And we got a side project going now. It's called the Smashing Barriers Project. It really helps out all of us grapplers, you know, with traveling and all the expenses of competing and tournaments and traveling and all that good stuff. So check that out too. That's pretty cool.
And where would I go to check that out?
It's on Facebook. We have our own Facebook page. It's called the Smashing Barriers Grappling Project.
Okay, good. I'll put links to that in the show notes. And how can somebody keep up with you and what you're doing?
They can find me on Facebook, you know, Shannon Kitchen. Find me on there. I'm on Instagram as Jits on Wheels with a Z. And I'm on Twitter, same name. So you can find me on there all over the place. So
well, that's good. And I'll put links to all those as well on the show notes. That way people can keep up with you and what you're doing. And I urge everybody to go check out the match with you and Brian. And just, it seems like you and Brian had a little bit ago, you went over there and had a great time. And just,
oh, yeah, absolutely.
Just scrolling through your Facebook page there. Yeah. So
we were doing 2 days, man. So that was fun.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to say, Phil, my instructor, he's having surgery Tuesday, so just wanted to let him know, you know, he'll be listening to this, that I love him, and thanks for all he's done for me, and put out the good vibes, and we're praying for you, brother, to come back stronger than ever.
Absolutely, and it takes a very quality instructor to be able to teach jiu-jitsu and change it a little bit and make it work for everybody. So definitely, good luck with the surgery, Phil. But by the time this is aired, he'll be done with it. Is that correct?
I think, yeah, he's having it Tuesday, so he'll probably listen to it either right before or right after.
Which, Tuesday?
Next Tuesday.
Well, this will air July 18, so
okay.
Hopefully he'll be done.
Yeah, hopefully.
So, and I like that you scheduled your was it the glass surgery while he was out of town, so you didn't miss much class.
Yeah, he was on vacation at the beach for a week, and I scheduled my surgery while he was gone so I could recover. And because it wasn't a major surgery, it was just same day in and out, a few stitches here and there, and that kind of thing. But
yeah, but you're going to be missing class anyway for that, so you might as well get them both done there. That's a very wise move, Shannon.
Yeah. Yeah, that piece of glass, man, turned out to be 1/2 inch long, and it was stuck sideways right in my temple.
Wow.
It was, a really short piece, but craziness, man.
All right, well, it's been very motivational talking to you today, and I appreciate you sharing your story. Do you have any closing thoughts or words for the audience?
Hey, man, I'm just having fun, blessed to be alive, just living the jiu-jitsu lifestyle. That's about it, man.
All right, well, let me know if you ever need anything. I'll be keeping in touch with you. And like I recommend, go and find him on the social media and check out what he's doing. So thank you, Shannon.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. I definitely want to thank Shannon Kitchen for the interview. I really appreciate him stepping up and sharing his story. It's very motivational. I mentioned it before. It's not just people getting on the mat, getting sweaty, learning how to fight better. Sometimes there's a lot more going on than that. Sometimes it is just that. But sometimes people have a rough day. They come in, they have a great day on the mat. They go home, they have a great rest of the week. Jiu-Jitsu can really make changes in people's lives, and that's important to remember. So a guy like Shannon definitely helps to remind us of that, and he's out there doing amazing things. Definitely follow him on Facebook. That's where I see most of the stuff that he's doing. He's very active on there, and it's just exciting to see what he's doing. He's out there doing it, my friends. So if you're feeling like you can't do something that he's doing, give it a try. Or send a message and tell him why you're not going to be able to do something, and see if he could help motivate you a little bit, my friends.
Yeah, I guarantee you. If you have any questions, just reach out to him. He will answer your questions. He will motivate you. He will help you get on that mat, or he's just an incredible human being. Gary,
we talked about a little bit before. What's going on with? We got a little story to share today.
Yes, our mat tales. We've asked you to ask our listeners to send in some of the crazy stories that they've had, and this is our second episode of Mat Tales.
This is Mat Tales. We bring you amazing Jiu-Jitsu stories. The story might be funny, unfortunate. It could be about an epic fail or an epic win. So sit back, my friend, relax, dry off your sweat from rolling, and enjoy Mat Tales. About 2 years ago, I went to practice and was starting to feel a little queasy. I think it was due to being tired, not much sleep, and I ate right before training. I'm not very good at BJJ, but I do have a good top game. The rest of my game is pretty weak. Well, it was time to start rolling, and I ended up getting paired up with a very attractive woman. I ended up getting top mount. She ended up putting her arms up, and I moved right into S mount, my favorite position. As I squeezed to make the S mount tighter, I literally crapped my gi pants while I was basically sitting on her face. I fell back for the submission, not knowing for sure what had happened to myself. She tapped right away. I started to sit up, and I could feel the foaminess within my own gi pants. She jumped up and ran to the bathroom. The bad part is we only have one bathroom, so I just sat there and waited in my own mess for her return so I could use the restroom. Well, my instructor sees me sitting there, not rolling with anybody, and he jumps on me to roll. Right off the bat, he smells what had happened. I was so embarrassed, I jumped up and left without saying a word. That night I ended up having to clean my gi pants and my car, but I have never been back to that gym or actually been back to do Jiu-Jitsu since. I hate to go out that way, but I'm still searching for that perfect pair of brown gi pants. This has been Mat Tales. Some of the names and places may have changed. We may have, in fact, taken some creative liberties with the story. In order to keep Mat Tales going, we need more tales. Tales from listeners like you. Send your Mat Tales to bjjbrick@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing your amazing stories.
Man, that's just a crappy story for me.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's sad that he doesn't feel comfortable training. interesting that he's out there listening, but obviously the desire to train is there. But looking for that pair of brown gi pants to wear. You know what I thought was funny was he said that the bad thing is they only have one bathroom. No, there's plenty of bad things going on. The one bathroom is okay. It's unfortunate, but that's not the bad part of the story.
Well, I love how he's sitting on the mat, with foam in his gi pants, and his instructor jumps on him because he thinks he's not rolling.
Yeah.
So, I wonder if the girls came back to class.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. What if the instructor came back to class? I mean, it could all have just fallen apart right there.
Yeah. There's stuff happens.
Stuff happens. Indeed.
I hope that, he gets back on the mat and tries it. Like you said earlier, or the last podcast, everybody has a bad day.
Maybe this is like a warning. If you're not feeling quite right, it's, you don't want to get anybody, the big thing that everyone thinks, I don't want to get anybody sick. I think, maybe I'm a little contagious, stay home. But maybe if your stomach's a little upset, maybe you eat too much or you're the wrong foods or whatever, maybe that's okay time to just take it easy today. And,
take the day off.
Yeah.
Or train with your grappling dummy in the basement.
Yeah. That grappling dummy doesn't care if you're kind of in one of those crappy moods.
Yeah, because, we're all going to be in crappy moods, but, sometimes you just need to turn that brown upside down.
I thought that was a frown.
Brown in this case.
Turn that frown upside down. But, yeah.
But, I hope this person, this unnamed person gets back on the mat. I guess we all have. Clearly the desire to grapple is within that person because they're listening to the show and submitting a story like that. Maybe it's been forgot about. Maybe you grow a mustache and come in with a mustache and nobody recognizes you. That's perfect. That's
Boom,
a good idea.
right there.
Yeah.
Most
mustache,
people,
some sideburns.
Yeah, that's a good way. Color your hair different, or tell them, come in there and say it's first time. Oh yeah, you do have a twin brother, and you heard about that, but that wasn't
Byron,
you.
I think we've trained with this guy. This is another true story. Back in the day,
oh boy, and
when Byron and I first started, we trained with a guy.
I know where this is going.
This is insane. Our instructor went crazy over this, but he actually, on the back of his gi, drew like a piece of poop man and wrote Mr. Poopy on the back of his gi. Like he didn't have a patch. He made a poop man and wrote Mr. Poopy. So, Byron, I think we did train with this guy.
Wow. I do remember that guy and the gi. That was probably 11 years ago, if not
the
more.
bad thing is we were so new into our jiu-jitsu journey that we didn't know that was crazy out of the norm, or otherwise we would have took pictures of it.
Well, yeah, I didn't bring my camera because that was predated cell phones, Gary. So
yeah.
Yep. But I forgot about that guy.
If you're listening to Mr. Poopy and you still have that gi, please snap a picture and show it to us.
All right. Well, we're getting in pretty deep here, Gary. I'm glad I got my boots on.
Yeah, let's definitely get out of here and let's clean up with some tissue.
All right, let's clean up and head on over to head on over to our social media outlets. We've got Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all kinds of stuff going on, social, even on Pinterest, my friends. So Instagram. We got them all, and they're all easy to find. If you just type in BJJ Brick, they should pop right up. A lot of ways to connect with us. Of course, email bjjbrick@gmail.com if you want to send us a message. That's a good way. So we're out there. Now that we're out of the mud, we're into social media now.
Yep, definitely getting out of the mud. And, if you want to get out of the mud and support the show, check out Patreon. Patreon is a website for content providers, and basically it's a way to support the show where you donate a certain monetary amount to each show. But we have 4 people right now who are on the $3 level, which is Rob, Sean, Craig, and Alexander. And if you do donate $3. One of the cool things, $3 per episode. One of the cool things you get is our 5-inch gi patch, and we'll ship it anywhere in the world to you. So it's just one of our ways to say thank you and get you a little bit bigger gi patch.
There we go. Yep. So that's a first to ship globally, because before we were just shipping here in the United States, Gary, and before that we were just giving the patches to people that we see in person. If you are traveling near Wichita, Kansas, we have a great sewer system to take care of all our problems that we have going on here. But that's the home of the BJJ Brick podcast is in Wichita, Kansas. Send us a message, get a hold of us. We'd be happy to train with you if you're traveling through and get some quality mat time on with you. That would be great.
And definitely do not miss next week. Tell all your friends about it. We are going to have the Raspberry Ape, Daniel Strauss, on next week. He's going to drop some knowledge and help us all become better jiu-jitsu players. So do not miss episode 145.
Yep. So Gary just said, tell your friends about it. Tell all your friends, at least the ones that grapple, about the podcast, if you wouldn't mind. We definitely appreciate that. That's been largely responsible for our recent growth, and it's been helping us out a lot. So if you got some grappling friends, which I'm sure you do, let them know that you listen to a podcast, and if they're not familiar with podcasts and how it works, they probably have their phone with them at the gym, and you can just show them right there what's happening. Tell them how you listen to it. You know, I listen to it in the car on my way to work, or on my way to train, or I listen to it when I'm mowing the lawn, whatever. You just kind of give them a little intro about what you do and how you listen to podcasts, because a lot of people don't even understand what a podcast is. They think they have to have an iPhone. You could have Android, whatever. We're available for all.
What about a rotary phone?
You could get it on a rotary phone, but you're going to have a friend that holds it up to the to a source that's playing it. You can even use it on a computer. So you can put the rotary phone next to the computer, hit play, call it with another rotary phone, have that lady connect the two plug-in things at the central location, and your podcast, you listen to that with the rotary phone. That's great.
Man,
probably
you think outside of the box.
Probably a good half of the audience, not that many. Probably 10% of us has no idea what a rotary phone is, just because they're under the age of 30, Gary.
Yeah, I guess my age is showing, Byron.
But anyway, you keep me on my toes here, Gary, which is always good.
Yeah, I always got to keep you on your toes. I always tell you, stay on your toes when you're putting pressure on me. So, same thing. Stay on your toes on the podcast.
There we go. That's some really good advice about pressure. But we'll get lots of other great advice from Daniel Strauss next week, my friends. As always, stay sweaty.
And do not forget to shower, my friends.
Especially if you have a kind of an unfortunate experience on the mat that led to you being really embarrassed.
Yes, or find yourself some brown gi pants.
Thank you for listening. I hope you find the time today to roll. After all, the best way to get better at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.